conversations that we all need to have when families are divided, misunderstandings, and things of that nature. So, this is a very profound, I think it's very well needed with
Hmm.
those uncomfortable conversations that we all need to have
Yeah, right.
to
So
start the
introduce
healing journey.
yourself and tell us
Yes.
a little bit about you.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Priscilla and Pastor Bruce Wall. I've known many years, great works in the community.
Hmm.
My name is Amina or Amina, long as you say it with love, P. Muhammad, and I'm a Bostonian here, born and raised in Boston. And I am a grateful mother of four, a grateful grandmother of eight, and a great nana.
Wow.
And I am a certified herbalist. I'm a Reiki master, and I'm a recovery coach supervisor. Currently at Torchlight Recovery, located in Grove Hall. And as you mentioned, now author.
Yes. That's a big accomplishment. I
Yes.
mean, that's just there's no feeling like seeing your works in print. I remember when I got my first copy of my book. 15 years ago, I published my book.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. I look back and wonder how I got over. But
Very true.
yes, yes. So come tell us about the elephant in the room.
Well, it was a brainchild from my best friend's sister in faith and through this journey called life, Vivian Smith Barnes. And originally, truth be told, it was supposed to have been men who were recently coming out of being incarcerated. But for whatever reason, life took them in different directions. So it did not happen. So she said, well, you know what, let me, because it was like that uncomfortable question, like, Sister Amina, would you be interested in writing a chapter? And we're going to do a book, her and I.
Hmm.
So it would start out with 14 and end up with 7
Okay.
authors. So one is my nephew, my spiritual nephew, her son, her brother, my brother, and other authors, different people in different walks of life, in different journeys, in obstacles and challenges. So that's where it came from. The Elephant in the Room, A Prisoner with No Bars.
Wow, wow. So tell us a little bit about one of the chapters.
Well, my chapter is called Life Lessons,
Mm.
and it speaks about resilience,
Mm-hmm.
reliance,
Mm-hmm.
and trauma. You know, a lot of people think because of my faith that I haven't been through anything. And some of the traumas that we need to heal from start at a very early age. Mine was at a very early age when my youngest brother was injured, unfortunately, by a bully. And he, while waiting for the ambulance, long time ago, at the age of 12, he basically laid in my arms and pretty much was dead until
Oh,
the ambulance
wow.
came. So that kind of jump started
Yeah.
the different traumas that I've experienced. And so there's some aha moments in the chapter, and there's some like, wait, what? Yeah, like, okay, yeah, I've been through some stuff. But I have to be honest, my faith, my walk in my faith has really been that saving grace for me. When we are all going to be tested and trials are going to hit us sometimes in a lot of ways where, okay, can you catch your breath? And we question. And then I've learned not to question, just ask for the wherewithal, if you would, to just overcome that trial, and what life lesson that I should walk away from. And then, like I said, the uncomfortable conversations where, gets real ugly and, snot's coming all out your nose and your eyes all puffy and you look like, well, who won that fight? Or who lost that fight?
Right.
And and then the healing journey, it takes place. And it actually was really one that recently happened about a year ago. My twin sister and I, kept being at odds, and we know others were the ones kind of creating the
Instigating.
chaos. Exactly. And it was
Because you have a twin, and twins
identical
are
twin.
Yeah, and twins are like this.
And that was what kind of bothered my dad and my mom. Like, I said, well, what siblings? Well, this is not an anomaly that siblings have a fall. And yeah, I know, but you're twins. And that was an aha moment for me and for her. And it happened on her youngest daughter, my niece's birth anniversary. And I just said, sis, I metaphorically, I apologize, atonement. I bumped my head and busted to the white meat. Forgive me. And then the floodgates opened. Like I said, that was the snots coming out the nose and boohoo crying and the eyes are swollen. And, you know, we've been good. And it also came from the deaths of both of our sons, her firstborn only son and my firstborn. It's like, wow, there's that twin thing. And so that was another commonality that we, you know, we rally around each other and support each other, but then something kept on, you know, that rocking hand. Well, what? I didn't do it. So we learned that lesson that, you know, to not be divided because Satan stays busy. You know, he likes chaos. You know, he's never asleep. He don't take no vacation.
24/7.
Absolutely.
You never see him in the unemployment line.
No,
right?
exactly that part. So that's my take. And then there's other things that I've overcome in terms of in my own personal life, in terms of just it's an aha moment when you realize, wow, you'll see me with a different set of lenses, like. Oh my goodness, and she can still stand and smile and still give back, and I'm a people of service.
That's God.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
I know.
absolutely.
Yeah, but I got some aha moments too. but God is good all the time.
All the
you
time.
know? And we go through things. You know,
Yes.
I've had a lot of trauma in my life as well. And that's why I wrote my book. I look back and wonder how I got over, but I know I got over. It was God, nobody but, you know.
Absolutely.
And so tell us a little bit. I can't wait to meet Vivian. Tell us about one of the other writers.
So
are these people because there's 7 stories,
yes.
right? Are these people like far or near?
They all, well, my nephew, her son lives in California right now, and her brother lives in Boston. So they're all Bostonians, and there's one in particular, he does work in reference to, so his name is, I'm trying to remember his name. There's Stephen, and then there's Danny McKenzie, and there's also Donald.
Osgood, yeah, I know Donald.
He's in the book, so you know he has a very interesting story. Damaris has an interesting story. Like I said, my nephew Jaheim, he has an interesting story, and then Andrea
and Dan McKenzie, I know him as well.
Exactly, he said that. Yeah. So and then Fish Out Off a Hook, which is my brother, her brother, Stephen Smitty Waters. He has a clothing line called The Elephant in the Room, and so. That's where it came from, but in reference to we all have heard that expression.
And I love the book cover.
Yes.
Let's see if we can see it. Look at the book cover. So, The Elephant in the Room.
Yes.
A prison with no bars.
So all of them have story of resilience, and they're like, oh wow, I see you, you see me. You know, and so my best friend, like I said, my sister for life, as you say, that ride or die, that's her. You know, 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, let me wipe the crust of my eyes and sit on the edge of the bed, and then we talk and we get through what we need to get through, called life. And so she's a 5-time author, and she's also a playwright. She wrote Hip Hop 9/11. She's the writer to that. Her in collaboration with Cindy Diggs. She wrote the afterwards in it. So she came with the concept, a lot of interesting information that was given and poured into her, and then decipher, how much to put in each chapter, and just allow each other to kind of express themselves. So again, that each person, you'll see them with a different set of lenses, because you never know what one is going through, because she wrote 2 books, Mask Off, Mask On. And she's the author 1 and 2, and it's dealing with mental health, and that we all walk around with masks. That's and you never know what's deeply rooted in a person and how they start their healing journey. And we all, like I said, we're all going to be tried. But in terms of how you deal with the resilience, putting your support systems around you. So this book is really a labor. I can really answer a labor of love, and it really is an aha moment for all of the authors, because you go, really? Because we don't talk about certain things like taboos, like there's stories about survivor of sexual assault and cancer survivors, domestic violence, and those 3 I know up close and personal. It's in my chapter. And so you go, wow. And then there's the guilt. So that's why you don't feel comfortable sharing that. But if my story which is not an original, but it is my story. And some of us are not comfortable sharing that. If it can help a young woman or a young man, because men, domestic violence, that happens, then I'm an open book. I'm not ashamed of anything that I've been through. It's my badge of honor to let you see if she can do it, then you can do it. And just that support system. And I've had many. She's definitely one who, like I said, has been near my corner, my twin sister, my children. And so it's one, that's why my chapter's called Life Lessons. Like, what lessons can we do with this information and this knowledge? And also, what takeaways? How can you be that shoulder, if you will, that oak tree? Because they say it's the oldest tree on the planet, and it may bend, but it's not going to break. So, and that we all need self-care. We all need support. We all need love, and it needs to be authentic. And so each of these people do that. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's one of the problems that we have. We don't want to forgive. We want to hold grudges, and it doesn't. All you do is hurting yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That is, and it's amazing because you have so many skill sets. So. So tell us about the what did you say, not the recovering coach. I'm gonna ask you about that in a minute. But the Reiki, did you say Reiki?
Yes.
Yeah. What is exactly is that?
So that is, it could be hands-on or non-hands-on, where you deal with energy. So we all have energy within our bodies. And so I'm a Reiki Holy Fire. There's different levels. So I'm a Holy Fire level 3 Reiki master teacher. And so in the training, so you have a lineage. So Vivian is she's the one who authenticated me in terms of doing the practice. So in terms of different chakras, I know you've heard of chakras, and there are 7 major ones in the body. So you read the body chakra, and the most often time, whether it be male or female, the heart chakra is the one that's usually closed or somewhat closed because it's guarded, again, with trauma that we have been through. And then you have different ones that the throat chakra, the color blue, helps you speak your truth. So it's a hands-on or not hands-on, and you can send energy to help transfer, to kind of just balance it out. When you have a muscle, it's not more muscle, it's energy that has traveled and is stuck. So as a Reiki practitioner, you have a way of help healing themselves.
So is it similar to like massage?
No. It can be. It could be hands-on or not. And so it's in terms of different symbols that you use, and it's not nothing spooky. It's just about energy, transferring of energy.
And also herbal. You said you're a herbalist,
yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
And you graduate, you have your degree, or you're getting it or something like that?
Yes, I had. So I do have that. It's I'm certified, and then I actually was finishing up on my doctorate in herbal medicine, not medical, because people get that confused, and because it's a different course of study for that. And so it takes anywhere, depending on where you start and where you are in your practice. So I've been doing it close to 40 years, but sometimes people want those credentials, and I'm like, okay, well, you want the credentials, and it's very grueling. It's and it's medicine, but it's herbal medicine. If you don't apply it right, it's still medicine, and you could hurt yourself. So a lot of times people think they can just look up something and think they can
Google it, right?
And Google will get you in trouble because there's certain elements to that, and that if you don't have the right combination, you can do the body harm. But it's also about thought. And it's also about diet, and it's also about the spirit. It's like a beautiful marriage, a combination, if you will. So I truly enjoy that, and it's not one, again, labor of love. It's more about help healing my hood. It's not about the money. I mean, my son says, "Mom, stop saying that." Well, it's not.
It's
you need to be paid your worth, but word of mouth, And so if I tell you and it worked, well, Sister Amina, she could do this, she could do that. She don't have to answer to everything, but certain things that preventive-wise, if you can get in the front of it, then maybe you can kind of offset certain things, So that's something, again, everything's a labor of love, and they all kind of combine with the herbalism, the Reiki, the yoga. I'm also a certified yoga instructor, facilitator. So they all kind of work together, and then the recovery coach. That's really my true passion.
Yes,
it really is.
I actually took the recovery coach class and got my
nice.
Yeah, I took it online though. Online.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
5 days.
Yes.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was very informative, and it was very eye-opening. you know,
Exactly.
eye-opening. You never know what people are going through. Like you
don't.
said, the mass, you know, and me, myself, I've suffered a lot of tragedy too, losing 2 children, one at 4 in a fire and one at 7 in a car accident, and just having trauma. One Thanksgiving, I think it was 68, we had a tragedy. My stepfather killed 2 people, shot my mom and shot another person. Thanksgiving Day,
Wow.
and my sister, my older sister Sarah, she was only 18. I was 13, and she had her own. You know, she had 3 children. She had to come down, you know, to Orchard Park where we lived at. She lived in Mission Hill, and kind of like took over the family because my mom had got shot too. She was in the hospital
Wow.
too, and that was. And one thing about that, I realized we never talked about that as siblings. My mother birthed 7 children. We never sat down and talked about that incident, you know, and that we all went in different directions, you know.
Elephant in the room.
Yes, I'm telling you, it was the most tragic thing I had, I think, besides losing my children.
Yes.
But you never know what a person is going through, you know. Like I admit I suffer from mental health issues, you know. I was in and out of a mental health hospital several times, you know. But in 1995, God said, "You will never go in the mental hospital again."
Come
you
on.
know, and I've been through some stuff, you know. But God is faithful and He's good.
Absolutely.
And He's great. And
Absolutely.
so I'm just excited to have you here.
Yes.
I see Miss Vivian has arrived.
Yes.
And we're going to sit her right there. And so this has been a good. Hello, Miss Vivian, Queen V. How
Yes,
are you?
yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yes.
Okay,
Put your headphones on and.
I'll take this.
And she can really give you the 411 regarding this beautiful book.
Yes. We were just talking about the elephant in the room. I love the cover, everything. And she said you're the publisher.
Yes.
Yes. You have your own publishing company.
You could say that. I actually didn't get into publishing on purpose.
Okay.
I'm more of a author.
Right.
And then I realized that I could publish my own books.
Right. That's a good thing. I'm an author also. I only have one book, and it's been out 15 years, and I'm still, I still take it to, I still sell it, you know. But I do have 2 more books in me that, hopefully, maybe in 2026, I can really get them out. You know, one of them is called The Real City Hall. That's, you know, about politics, and, you know, and working in city government and the ups and downs, the ins and outs, and all that good stuff. So
Yes.
yeah. So tell us, Miss V, Queen V, your name, you know, where you're from. You know, I do have your bio, but I like people to tell, you know, what they've done. And Sister Amina gives you a whole bunch of props.
Thank you.
She deserved
always.
them.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, and you do too, sis. Yes. So, Vivian Smith Barnes, and Queen Vivian is what the neighborhood knows me by, and you know, people that work with me. I got the name while I was. I had organized. In fact, I founded the first Universal Zulu Nation chapter, Boston chapter, in about I think it was something like 1995, something like that. And basically a hip hop organization. For some people, probably don't know what it is if they're not into hip hop. But we were a chapter that had actors and writers, and you know, even though they were doing hip hop, it was conscious lyrics. We actually wrote several plays, and fast forward, I had started, you know, working with young people that were previously gang involved, and I did case management with them. I worked with the court system, so I always had a passion to work with young people. But I was always a writer as well. So I eventually went to college, got a degree. I do mental health right now, mental health clinician right now, and I'm also the director of diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies for a behavioral health organization. So that's my day stuff. That's my day job. And so as far as entrepreneurially, I am a writer. I am a publisher.
How many? I heard you wrote 5 books.
Yeah, 5 books. Well, 2 of them were totally mine, meaning that they weren't collaborations. The other ones were collaborations because I felt like I kind of wanted to creep out, so the collaboration sounded better because I didn't really know what I was doing. So, I had the opportunity to do it, so I did. And then finally, I realized, well, I already knew that I wanted to write my own book because I have a stack of notebooks with all kinds of information in it about my life and things like that. So so I wrote those 2 books. The first one is Mask Off. And it's about mental health in the urban community, and the second one is Mask Off 2, and it's Finding Forgiveness on the Other Side of Sexual Exploitation. So that book is mainly both of them are sort of how-tos. There's a little bit about my life, but then I talk about resources and tips on how to avoid predators and things like that in that second book.
Wow.
The first book is mainly given the real deal about the mental health industry.
Yeah.
So and I'm a Reiki master. I do soul realignment work. So I'm a light worker as well. So
well, you
do some things.
You seem to have a great spirit, and you seem to have a lot of knowledge. And to write 5 books, I've only written 1. So, but it's great though, And I was just Amina was just telling us about some of the writers, and I actually know 2 of the other writers besides
Danny
her.
and
So
she knows Danny and Donald.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's good too when you have collaborations, because you get other people's perspectives, And we as Black people, we have suffered for so long, And I just love to see when we come together and collaborate and do different things, I mean, there's a lot of Boston authors. It'd be nice if we could do a Boston author, event, maybe like at the Strand or somewhere, because there are a lot of Boston authors, and good
There
books,
is.
And
There
it would
is.
be nice if we could do something like that. you
Yeah.
know?
And I do want to shout out Four Corners Association because they're the ones that actually they're the ones that funded the project. So the authors didn't have to spend any money.
Okay.
I didn't.
That's a
I didn't
blessing.
have to write an actual grant.
Okay.
But the brother Stephen Godfrey, he believed in me.
Stevie.
Yeah, and he knew that I was good for it, and they funded it. They funded the
Okay.
project, so
That's
that
great.
make it happen.
That's great. That's great when you have people that support you
Mhm.
from the community. I know Stephen Godfrey very well. It seems like I've worked with a lot of people in Boston. But it's so. Tell us how you and Amina decided to do this Elephant in the Room. I love the title. I love the cover. It's right there. Right in your face. The elephant in the room. So.
Yeah. So the elephant in the room. Well, first of all, I'll just rewind a little bit. That's actually a brand, and that's my brother's brand. He does he does apparel.
That's nice.
Yeah, he does apparel, but also we had been doing some talks around town. Probably, I think it was just out of COVID, and we were doing talks around racism, and so we started a series of the Elephant in the Room conversations. We did one down in Copley Library.
Okay.
So it's
Right.
different communities. So in terms of the book writing, Mass General actually funded some of the work that I did, right, with my books. And so they made it so that I was able to host sort of like a book club, right?
Okay.
But the message was trying to kind of eliminate people who have sleepless nights and some mental health issues, stress, depression, and reading yourself through through these different ailments, right? And another shout out, Cindy Diggs, because
I
she's
know
over
Cindy
there.
too. I work with her too.
Yeah, she's over there and at Mass General,
Right.
and her department is the one that funded. So they brought a lot of my books. I did book readings, and we were hosted by Marcus Garvey. We had our book program there, and I knew that in my heart I really wanted to not just read books. There were some other books that we also did read. We talked about different topics, and Charlemagne the God was one of his books that we started reading too. I just decided that I wanted to see if folks were interested in writing their story, and so it kind of sprouted out. It kind of came out of that, and I knew that I wanted to do the elephant in the room anyway, because a book is basically just an expensive business card if you really look at it, because that's just a way to kind of brand yourself, and and then not that you're an expert. Well, you're an expert in being you. That's how I saw it, right? And the group came up with the subtitle, "A Prison with No Bars," and the reason why we called it that, one of the reasons why, is because initially the groups that we did, we were targeting previously people who had been incarcerated, had that experience, right? Okay. But then I tried to do a project with that community, and it was very difficult because so many of our brothers and sisters are, they don't feel comfortable telling their story, or they might have had their records sealed, and wherever they're working at, they don't necessarily want people to know that, oh, that was part of my life too. So I had way back started a project called Crooks, Stealing Our Lives Back, right? And it was supposed to be a collaboration, but it just didn't pop off because I couldn't get folks to really become authors because they didn't feel comfortable. So yeah, so that's kind of how this came along. We just thought that it just made sense. A prison with no bars is, we all have one. We all lived it. Some people are still living in their own prison.
That's right. It's it's amazing how many authors that we have. It's also amazing how many people have gotten out of prison that have started their own organizations and that are working, giving back. And some of these returning citizens actually have been in prison for something that they didn't even do.
Yes.
And that's a hurting part. A young man, he's old now, but I went to school with him, and we were in the 4th grade together, and he spent 42 years in prison. And it took Stacy Borden to get him out. Stacy?
Yeah, no,
and Andrea James.
Good people.
Yeah.
Well, Stacy was coming to the book program too, and there was a couple of young men that had been exonerated too that attended.
Right. Stacy is amazing. We grew up together, and her New Beginnings program was awesome, Yes. But unfortunately, she had to change it into a day program, which is still good,
Oh, really?
Yes. It was a night.
No, I know. I've been there. Me and Cindy had the pleasure of being given a tour there. Yes, beautiful place.
Yes, it is, and so. It's like through our experiences, like Andrea James, she wrote that book, Upper Bunkies Unite, and it was about prison, and what she went through while she was in prison. And she said, she told them, when I get out, I'm going to help and support my sisters that are back here. They've been doing the Free Her tour. I mean, when Andrea got out of prison, she just started traveling nationwide, just doing all these talks, talking about we don't need no new prisons. Why do we need new prisons? We need wraparound services for our mothers, because when a father or a husband is incarcerated, the mother is still there to take care of the family. But when a woman goes to prison, it disrupts the whole entire family. Yes. And there are wraparound services that could be given instead of giving somebody 10 to 15 or 20 years. Give them some wraparound services. Help them. Support them. Because you're spending more money to incarcerate them than you are to teach them.
But yeah, that's another conversation. Yeah, people benefit. We know people benefit from us going to jail. So plain and simple.
Mass incarceration.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's good to be able to talk to you and talk to. I mean, I talk to her almost every day. But but you know, it's good. It's because we have to let the younger generation know what's out there and what's out there for them. And we have some young folks that can really do some great things. I run a youth program called the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute. We just graduated our 5th cohort, where we train young folks how to organize, advocate. We teach them about leadership. We teach them financial literacy. We bring in elected officials, doctors, lawyers, all types of people, business owners, to come in and talk to the youth and encourage them, you know. And some of them have gone on to, you know, they work with us. One of my young girls that just she did our first class. Our first class was on Zoom. We had 20 people on Zoom. Some were from North Carolina, some were from Texas, and some were from Minnesota. She was our first. She started with us. Then when the program was over, she came to work for us. She was going to BU. She was going to BU. And what really impressed me about her was her drive. That girl was working like 2 or 3 jobs. She said she started saving money when she was 14 to go to college. And she just graduated last month.
Good for her.
In political science. And so she's coming back to work with us. And I am just really excited because the girl, dynamite. And she's only 21 years old, you know. And so I'm like, how old are you now? 24? You know, but 21, you know. And she's completed her. She actually got a chance to study in Paris, London, and Cuba. And she says she traveled, you know, to Spain, all types. She says when you're over there, you get to travel. And she says she believes that a lot of people should, if they're able to travel outside the United States, because you see a whole bunch of different things.
You see
the
whole world.
Yeah. So I just wanted to shout her out because she's amazing.
Yeah, that's
I was
beautiful.
so happy when she,
and
you know,
congratulations
called me.
to her.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. I'm going to her graduation party this weekend.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She invited me, yes. And I have another person that was with me. She started with me when she was 17. She's now 23. She just graduated. She graduated from BU. Then she went to BC, and she just got her master's in social work. Yeah. So, I mean, these are young folks that I have been able to interact with, and she still works with. She's on our board now, you know. So it's just you know, I'm surrounded by young people. There's one of my young guys over there in the back, being incognito. But yeah, it's this stuff is a calling, you know. It ain't something that you wake up in the morning, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You know, you gotta pray about it. You gotta, you know, lay before God. But I really think that this is a good thing. You know, and I'm so happy to meet you. I'm hoping this won't be the last time that I see you. But I tell you, it's. So tell us a little bit about your other books and about your publishing company too, because I know another woman that started her own publishing company, Carol Brown. Do you know Dr. Carol Brown?
No, I don't think so.
She worked for Boston Public Schools, but she did these mini series books. They were geared toward teenagers. They talked about one was about the last one she wrote was about the insurrection, but she wrote about being bullied, how young folks deal about being bullied, obesity, you know, how people get, you know, teased because they're overweight and things like that. And there was 2 more, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's, you know, it's just amazing. We as black people, we have so many skill sets and creative ideas and stuff, you know. And that's why I'm about collaboration instead of competition, you know.
Yes,
because,
exactly.
Yeah, we need to work together. We're all in the same boat, right? You know, we may think we're not in the same boat, but a lot of us are going through the same thing. And, you know, that's especially when it comes to this government, you know, this system that we live in, and white supremacist racism, we're in it. You know, and we didn't ask to be in it, you know, so,
Yeah, well, my, the first Mask Off book that I did, that is speaking about mental health, I would say that the guiding thread and the reason why I was inspired is because when I was in, doing my master's program, I actually did a talk about the DSM. At that time, it was the DSM-4 because the DSM-5 diagnostic manual for health disorders, and that's the Bible. That's the Bible for psychology. And anybody that is in the field, they have to use that in order to diagnose. And usually, it's each, I'll say, category or each mental health issue may have like 7 to 10 different features. And usually, if you can check off 5, that means that you'd be diagnosed with, with that. Of course, they do their own assessments and things like that, right? But my talk to the students when I was in college was basically about finding themselves in that book, because we're all in there. All of us are in there somewhere, right? And not to say because we're labeling, but we have to, because you have to get paid, right? Yeah. All of those diagnoses, they have a number. With those numbers, that's the billing number. And I remember ADHD is like, I think it's 314. But there's now, they switch it up here and there, right? But I guess my point was that in the world that we live in, especially now, and we see the mental health needs spiking in the schools with parents after COVID. People didn't know who their family members were until they were locked in with them for 2 straight years. So it's like, who are these people? They said the highest divorce rate happened during COVID because husbands and wives they were passing each other, and you know what I mean? So, and that's not a bad thing. Actually, for me, I feel like it was a reset. The animals came out after we were locked in for, about a week. And it's like the flowers started blooming. It's like, good, the humans are gone because, they destroy everything, right? And it's a fact. I mean, literally, the animals truly came out. And so as far as the mental health piece, with all that's going on, I feel, and I have to coin this from Dr. Umar's book.
My favorite.
I love Dr. Umar. Are you talking about
Umar Johnson? Yeah.
So, is Dr. Umar? It says Omar.
Omar.
Yeah.
I call him.
With Sekou?
Yeah.
Okay.
Reed, Dr. Reed.
Dr. Reed.
I'm
talking about Dr. Reed.
Okay.
Their book, their collaboration book. I used that for my thesis. But one of the things that stuck out for me was that something would be dreadfully wrong with us all if we weren't impacted in some kind of way mentally with all that's going on, especially now. So that's why when people are clinicians and they're diagnosing people, sometimes you got to be careful with that, because those diagnoses, they travel with folks for the rest of their lives. And then a lot of times the therapist don't even realize that nowadays they are, because there are a whole lot of therapists and clinicians that have their own, because they're impacted also as well.
Right,
so that's what that's what that book was about, was basically trying to dispel some of the stigmas around mental health, and when it's time to see a mental health practitioner, what the signs are of certain disorders, as they call them, so I and then at the end I gave like a lot of resources for folks. The other book that I published, actually I didn't publish it. I coached the girls. It was a collaboration, and that book is called Voices, Windows to My Soul, and I did write a grant for that. And I was able to work with let me see, there were 8 authors, and it was a combination of young, they weren't clinicians yet, but they worked in my organization, and then with some of the clients, and they told their stories. So it was anywhere from, coming out when when it's LGBTQ, and when you're with a family that are Christian, like what that experience was for her. It was very powerful. I often use her story because while we were doing the book, she would be calling me and texting me sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night from being in the mental health hospital. She would be in the CBAT. And, you know, a lot of times they don't sleep well, right? But she had her phone with her, and sometimes she's, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't make the Zoom because I'm in the hospital again. She was hospitalized 3 times throughout the creation of that book.
Wow.
Yeah, she was, how old is she? She was like, she was 19 years old. But, no, actually 17. So, you know, but I'm just saying, like, she had that in her heart, her passion. She wanted to tell her story, and she made it happen.
To do it while she was being in the mental hospital. That's no joke. I've been in mental hospitals. It's no joke. They just, you know, they medicate you up. Haldol, Therozine, all this.
Well, you don't leave without meds.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You're not leaving without meds.
Right.
Everybody gets meds.
But everybody don't need meds.
Right.
You know,
You're absolutely right.
That's the issue. Everybody
That
don't
is the
need
issue.
Meds. You know, and just like they medicate our children, I'm totally against them medicating our children in school. You know, and so there is just so many things that are upon us and attack us, and that's why we have to stay together and work together.
Yes.
Especially around mental health. You
And
know?
if I could chime in, that was one of the things she mentioned in the book that Dr. Reed and Sekou Menz, may Allah be pleased with him, and the other, can't think of the other clinician, PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder.
Yeah.
And what I like, because I worked with Pyramid Builder for like 4 years, that, like you said, no one leaves without meds. But here's the thing. It's like putting a Band-Aid and you have not gotten to what is the issue. And to me, I think this is the brainchild, the elephant in the room, those things, those uncomfortable conversations that you need to have. And psychotherapy as opposed to psychiatry are two different animals. Psychotherapy, which is what Brother Sekou and Dr. Omar Reed and Larry... He did Osiris. He's over
Larry Higginbottom.
Yes.
Yes.
Those three, they wrote that book together, and that was like for us as a clinician and also as an advocate, because I was an advocate working to deal with the underlying stuff that, like peeling that onion away.
That's
It was like the layers. There were layers and layers, and so the last thing, especially Sekou, anybody who knew him and Omer, they were not for no medication. Now, if you need it, do not get me wrong, that's fine, but don't let that be the first thing you go on.
Well, and also you have to be learning the skills while you're on it, because that's what it's all about, is life skills.
Right.
Because once you put those medicine in your body, it takes 2 weeks for it to do whatever it's going to do, but then you don't get to the side effects, and then when you come off of it,
damage your organs.
Exactly. So that was one of the things I loved. I learned a lot from working with Pyramid Builders and then working with Vivian. Just the different things that we do, like we do the sound healing, we do the Reiki, we do the yoga, all of those organically alternatives to mental health. Because mental health is real. We've been through a post-traumatic slave disorder. So we've been, and it's in our spiritual DNA.
Yeah, that's right.
So if we don't deal with, that's why the elephant, those uncomfortable, like it's in us. So I just wanted to share that part.
Yep, and actually, Dr. Reed is the person that inspired me to get into mental health altogether. Because I had a long conversation with him, and we were at Washington Park, and I remember, and it was before they started Pyramid Builders, and we started talking about mental health, and he just said, go back to school, just go get your degree, and this, that, and the third, and I was like, oh man, go back to school, because I already had my bachelor's, and it was in sociology, and I was not into. I started out being a psych major, and I was deterred because at the time the only two people that we studied was Erickson and Sigmund Freud, and I found out later on that Sigmund Freud never even treated a child. He never even had a patient before.
Good morning, Carla. You're on the air. Hello.
Good morning, Sister Priscilla.
Good morning,
Sister Priscilla.
Good morning, Grace. How are you?
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for all that you do. And I'm just calling to comment on the most important topic of mental health, and bring another perspective on mental health. That I'm also a healer. I'm a Sabian, Dr. Sabian healer, and Dr. Sabi taught us that it's inflammation, mucus in our body. So if you're suffering with mental health, that means you have mucus in the brain due to the foods, the acidic foods and drinks that you're eating. So if you stop eating those foods and use herbs to cleanse the cells to remove it, that you will recover. Now, since then, there is a psychiatrist, I believe his name is Chris, and there's also I forget the name of the hospital, but they are now, it's a big thing now, where they're treating people who are suffering from mental health with the keto diet. And the keto diet is removing certain foods from your diet. So that is a big thing that's going on now. At the Brigham and Women's Hospital has a ward, and it's also a hospital in, I believe it's in Arlington, that's how they're treating the patients. They're also looking at their diet now. So that's one of the things. The other thing is we had a mother of two who lived in Dorchester, and she was going through depression due to her divorce. She went to the hospital. She was prescribed medication, and then she was on these medications, and her family brought her back to the hospital and said, "Oh, she's still not doing better." They gave her more medication, and she was a mother of two. She had, I believe, a baby and another child who was like 2 years old or so, and the mother slit the throat of both of her children. The Commission for Human Rights, CCRC, if you Google them, they are against stopping the drugging of people. They have documented that a lot of the diagnosis, ADHD, there's no science behind it at all. They also, on their website, they list all the psychotic drugs that's being taken, but they actually nationwide, internationally, fight against the psychiatric industry with stopping the drugging of children and stopping the drugging of people. So I just want to add to that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace.
And
Appreciate you listening.
Thank everyone for all the work that you are doing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
You know, the sad thing is, all that sister needed was somebody to take the time and sit with her and let her express.
Yeah.
The sister said, like, one was an infant and one was a 2-year-old, so that means she had those babies close together, so her hormones was imbalanced. And what she said about Dr. Sabi, which is just a segue into how to eat to live 1 and 2, is diet and mucus. Our body already has mucus, so when you get sick, the last thing you want to do is be drinking coffee with cream and dairy and things of that nature. But with that sister, all someone needed to do was sit with her, not give no response, just sit and listen and let her tell you what is going on. And so that is and Adderall is a big drug that they give our young teenagers, and they even start at an early age. And again, I worked in many programs where I was blessed to work with directors who was so totally against this. Well, I mean, I can't tell you to give it to them, not give it to them, but it's up to you. If the clients, if the patients didn't want it, then don't give it to them. And just Mark says, they didn't want it, and that worked well for me because that worked so against my spirit.
Yeah,
and I worked with
medication.
teen girls. A New Leaf, we haven't been to that program many times. It's now shut down without a children's service of Roxbury, and thanks to the Richards, Dave said the way they handled it was so you had to be kind of undercurrent. Help them if they don't want the medicine. Don't push it. And so for me, that's just so sad. And I know you can speak to that because she's been doing it a little longer than me, but we both, that's how we've done this work together. It's like, wow.
Yes, and it's all it is it's just an imbalance. Like
Exactly.
when you take the word
Yeah.
disease, it's dis-ease. It's an
Exactly.
imbalance. And, well, we know it's big business. So, of course, they're going to create circumstances that are going to cause the problem so that it can come in and solve the problem as we see happening before our very eyes every single day.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So I did want to say one more thing about that particular, the side effects. Some people when I hear it on TV, because if you notice, it's very different from back in the day, right? You never saw pharmaceuticals commercials because
Right.
it
All
wasn't
the
it
side
wasn't
effects.
well not just that. It's what they're doing is they're marketing to customers.
Right,
That
right.
never happened. It would always be just the doctors that and I worked in hospitals, and I have been in meetings with the sales reps for pharmaceutical companies, and they buy everybody in the office. They'll buy, and I'm not knocking them because that's their job to sell, right?
Right.
They'll buy everybody sushi or any for on Tuesdays, and they would sit there and basically pitch to the doctors, because the doctors would be around the table.